Hello and welcome back to the Honey Badger. I am Dr. Neff, and on this channel we talk about all things spiritual. So lately it has been a lot of paranormal experiences that I've had, and this one is going to be no different. So I have another story for you about some paranormal activity that I have dealt with in my earlier life. It does still happen to this day, but this one happened rather in high school or right at the end of high school. It was either in my senior year or I had just graduated. I'm not entirely sure, but it was around that time. So like 2005, 2006. It was somewhere around there. Long time ago. Now, to give you kind of a visual of what this house looked like, it was 2 stories, but the second story was just a bonus room. And there was also a door that led into the attic space. That's all that was up there. So when you walk into the front door, you're immediately greeted by the staircase, which is slightly off center to the right. And of course, the living room area, you walk straight from the door, you're going to end up in the kitchen area, and then back there to the right in the back of the house is my parents' bedroom. Now, off to the right, where the stairs are, is an entryway to a rather small hallway. It's probably no more than like 6.5 feet in length, so it's pretty small. But to the right, as soon as you enter the hallway, is a bedroom, and then slightly off center from the entry is the bathroom, and then to the left of that was my bedroom. So just to give you an idea of the setup. So again, I'm a teenager. I'm probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years old at this point. Now, I have an older sister and I have an older brother. My brother's 7 years older than me, so he was already well out of the house before I even got into middle school. And my sister's 2 years older than me. So my sister, she used to have the bedroom that was across from mine downstairs, but she eventually took the bonus room that was upstairs to have a little more privacy for herself, right? Now, my sister did have a job. She was supposed to go to work this day. However, my sister has a habit of sleeping through her alarms. So they will go off and go off and go off, and she won't wake up. So this particular morning, it might even have been like towards the afternoon, because I would stay up real late. This house was really uncomfortable for me. I would be up real late. Sometimes I wouldn't sleep at all. Or I wouldn't sleep until the sun came up, I should say. That happened a few times. So this particular day, I might have slept in until probably noon. I might have woken up a little earlier, but really no earlier than 10 a.m. Okay. Broad daylight. I wake up with an absolute sense of dread, which didn't really happen very often for me, but I always had this weird feeling in this house. But I woke up with an absolute sense of dread. There was no one home. It was just me. Of course, my parents are at work. They're not at the house. My sister is actually gone. Didn't know that at the time, but I could feel that there was something upstairs. So I'm thinking my sister slept through her alarm at this point and she's still home, but I had this weird feeling of dread. I didn't know what it was. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, something's wrong. That's the energy of this house when I woke up. I took the fastest shower I've ever taken in my life because I was so unsettled. I didn't know what was going on. Now, mind you, the bathroom itself, there was the sink area, and then there was a door to where the toilet and the shower was. I think I had closed the door to take a shower because that's how unsettled I was. When I got out of the shower, I got dressed and I started to dry my hair. Now, my hair was really short, so it took no more than 7 minutes to actually dry it, so it didn't take very long. I had a bob. I had really short hair with bangs. And at this point, the rest of my head was dry, but I was drying my bangs. And as I was drying my bangs, I could feel something moving around upstairs. And I just remember repeatedly saying, I hope that's Sarah. 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 And literally that fast. Like I was panicked at this point. And as I'm drying my bangs, I freeze. I get frozen. I turn off the dryer because I felt it coming down the stairs. That is the most unsettling fucking shit. If you watch horror films or you even watch thrillers, you understand like the energy that they set up in those films to make you feel uneasy and frightened, like I was living it. I was living it in real life. I could feel something coming down the stairs. Couldn't hear anything because the stairs did creak after a while. We were there for, many years. My father, I think, recently just sold the house like 2, 3 years ago. So the stairs would creak, and there was no sound, but I could feel it. And the most terrifying thing in the world was feeling it turn into the hallway. And as it turned into the hallway, it turned to my bedroom. Like, it turned towards me. I froze. I was using my peripheral vision at this point because I was too afraid to see it head on. It walked past the bathroom. The door was open. It walked past the bathroom and went straight into my bedroom. It was a shadowy figure. It was a woman. She's about my height, maybe a little bit shorter. I'm 5'3", or about 160 centimeters. So I'm not very tall. She was about my height, if not a little bit shorter. She had really long hair, long straight hair that went down to about her butt, right? Really long hair. And it looked like she was wearing a dress. But I don't know what that dress looked like, because it was just a shadowy figure and I could see very vague details about her. I eventually got up the courage and unfroze myself to go into my bedroom, which I walked real slow. I walked real slow and walked into my bedroom to see what was there, and there was nothing. She wasn't there. So I started to freak out. I ran out of the house so fast. I don't even think I walked down the steps from the front door. I'm pretty sure I jumped down those suckers, and I ran to the end of the driveway. Now, we live in a neighborhood. I had a high school friend that lived about 3 doors down from me, and there was another girl that lived directly across from me. We weren't really friends. But we knew each other. Let's put it that way. She was younger than me. And I don't remember who I spoke to, but it might have been them. It might have been the ones directly across her asking what was wrong. And I was trying to explain to them. It's hard to explain, but you could tell that I had seen something very unsettling, something frightening. Now, keep in mind, this isn't the first time that these experiences happened in this house, but it was the first time that I really felt and saw something in the house. Anytime it was quiet in the house, it was a really unsettling silence always in that house. And at night, multiple times. I don't remember when exactly this started happening, but it wasn't when we initially moved in. But I would start getting, this is why I stayed up so late at night, because the nighttime was so unsettling. It was so quiet, and I had a stereo, so I would keep music on just to not be in the absolute silence of the house. And I would get these undeniable sensations of get out. And I kept feeling that, and it got so bad to the point. Now, mind you, I'm a teenager, right? I'm in high school. And I'm going to my parents' bedroom to wake them up to come into my room. It's like, do you not feel that? Do you not feel the need to get out? And of course, my parents were like, yeah, just go back to bed. And sometimes they would stay the night with me in my room because I was so shaken by it. They didn't know what the hell was going on. They probably thought I had schizophrenia because my aunt, my father's eldest sister, she has schizophrenia, or she was diagnosed with that. So I'm pretty sure they thought that. They never had me checked out, but whatever. So this happened quite often after a few years of being in that house. Now, I'm pretty sure that the spirit that is in that house is indigenous. She is of First Nations, because my aunt, she lived across the pond from us in a different neighborhood. There was kind of a walkway to get to it from our neighborhood, but you had to drive about 5-10 minutes out of the way just to get into the neighborhood, because there was really only one entrance to this one. It was a small neighborhood. So she lived across the pond from us. And at the base of her property in the backyard, because her house was up on a hill, so it was a pretty steep slope down to the pond, she would find arrowheads down there. So I'm pretty sure that there was an indigenous group, quite a large one, in fact, or at least I believe they're quite large, that lived there. So I have a feeling that she was indigenous, especially judging by her hair. Now I don't know what the indigenous of that area looked like. This was on the outskirts of Raleigh, North Carolina, what we always called Johnston County because it didn't actually have a name at the time. If anyone's from there, you know what I'm talking about. I think it's now Cleveland Springs or something like that. It used to just be Johnston County. That's all we call it. So it was in Johnston County. I don't know what the indigenous of that area looked like because they all have their own special way of dressing and doing their hair and things like that. So I don't know, but I just know that her hair was very straight. It wasn't put up in any way. It was just free flowing down to her buttocks. Now, I didn't find out until a couple years ago, I think a year or two ago. So this might have been like 2025, 2024, that I discovered at least why I think she was telling me to get out, to get out, to get out. I was watching a video about basically the electrical system in the house, and if it starts to smell fishy, then something's up and something needs to be replaced before it sets the whole house on fire. Well, in my bedroom, there was one socket that was at my desk. I had a lamp there, and I had it on, and I would catch this fishy smell periodically, and it weirded me out. I didn't know where it was coming from for a while. I figured out eventually that it was around the desk, but I didn't know if it was the lamp itself or what. So I would just turn off the lamp and I wouldn't turn it back on. So I have a feeling she was at least warning me about that at the time. At least all of those nights that I did have that lamp on, she was telling me to get out, probably because there was a fire hazard. She could be telling us to get out for a completely different reason. I mean, we are white. We are white individuals. So I think that's more or less what she was telling me at the time. I think she was being helpful more so than, negative. However, she wasn't harmful, but she wasn't really friendly either. I know that there's some resentment there because I could feel it, that really uneasy fucking feeling. Now, the activity that I've had around my current apartment, I don't get that energy most of the time. Like, I'll feel there's a presence, but it just feels like it's just there. It doesn't feel like it's trying to do anything. It's just kind of like in the space. So it feels very neutral. So I've experienced that, and this is not at all what that energy felt like. It really didn't want us there. It really didn't. She did not want us there. I don't blame her. Chances are, because this does happen where, especially in a development that they're building up, they're putting in new houses. There might be unmarked graves, of course. Not everyone marks a grave like we do with headstones. But if they find bones, they tend to just ignore it, pretend that they didn't exist, and not report it, because if they do, then it would halt construction for quite some time until the investigation was completely done. And unfortunately, in those cases, the tools and stuff that they use can be confiscated. So chances are she was probably buried somewhere where this house was built on top of, or at least within the vicinity. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. And in North Carolina, like, they don't really tear down all of the trees like they do down here in Texas, which is where I am now. There are actually trees everywhere. You essentially live in the forest. You live inside the forest. So well-covered area. So it wasn't completely demolished, but, it's a pretty big neighborhood. Obviously, my family doesn't live there anymore. If I recall, it's called Waverly Place. It's been so long, I don't remember the name. But again, if you live in that area, you probably know what I'm talking about. So that's the neighborhood that I grew up in from like middle school, like 8th grade, middle school, all the way through my high school years into college and stuff. Like I said, my dad just recently sold it, probably back in 2024 or 2025. I don't really remember which one. So He lived there for a long time by himself. And I doubt he's reported anything weird happening in that house. But to be honest, this particular experience that I had made me shut down as much as possible all of the experiences that I was having because I didn't want them anymore. No one could explain what they were because no one else was really experiencing them, or so they say. Now, my sister has had, and I've explained this in a different video, she's had at least one paranormal experience with me that she says never happened because she doesn't remember it at all. It's like, yeah, well, it did. I remember it vividly. And it's fine that maybe it terrified her to the point where she just wanted to block out that memory. She doesn't want to think about it. I don't blame her for that. And it's probably why she slept so heavy, to be honest. Nighttime was terrifying, and it was probably terrifying to her as well. Sleep as heavy as you can so that nothing that's happening outside of your control you get woken up to or you experience. Like, I can understand all of that. So I know that my sister has had experiences, and she probably doesn't talk about a lot of them, although she did talk about how at night up there in the bonus room, she would sometimes hear scratching next door in the attic space. Now, the attic, like I said, there's just a regular door that goes into it at the very top of the stairs. It wasn't like a pull down with a ladder or anything like that. The attic was just up on that floor. But her bed was situated off to the right. So when you go up the stairs, the door to the attic is immediately to the right, and her bedroom door is in front of you. But when you walk in, there's like this little cutout area. So it was kind of up against or it lined up, I should say, with the attic space. Now, granted, there could be raccoons in there. It's North Carolina. There's a good chance that there were raccoons, but she would hear things at night up there as well, and it kind of freaked her out also. And my God, that whole house just had some weird energy in it. Oh my God, if we were home alone, my sister did this too. So I know that she has some ability of some kind to feel these things or at least experience paranormal stuff. So I wasn't entirely crazy, but she wouldn't admit to any of it. So it made me feel crazy. And I felt like I was just a weirdo, that I was mentally ill, which maybe I was. But actually I was, going through a lot of abuse as a kid. Mental, emotional, manipulative abuse. Like, that's what I went through. So of course there's going to be some of that damage. But, I feel like those particular instances of that abuse really amplified my intuition, because when you go through stuff like that, especially narcissistic abuse, you are on high alert 24/7. You are on high alert 24/7. So I really feel like that really did play a role into how loud all of this paranormal activity was for me, because no one else was experiencing it except my sister, who won't admit to it. But when we were home alone, she would do this too. We would get a knife from the kitchen and just keep it on a person. And so the TV and stuff, this is before my sister took over the upstairs as her bedroom. It used to just be like where the computer was and where we would have a TV. It wasn't the only TV, but we would have a TV up there, with some of the furniture that we moved from downstairs upstairs, right? So we'd be up there watching TV, and we would have the knife with us because it felt so unsettling in that place. It just did not feel right. We felt like there was a threat around the corner. And the thing that I hated the most is that the way we had the TV situated is that when you walk in to the bonus room, it was kind of straight ahead off to the left in the corner, like catty corner. And we had two recliners, really old recliners, I might add. We've had those since we were kids. Like, I was 5, 6 years old, somewhere around there. Like, we had them for a really long time. They were comfy as hell. But we had them, so they would swivel, right? But they were facing the TV. So the back of those chairs was to the door, which is the most unsettling thing, especially if you feel like there is something going on in the house, you feel that there is an ongoing threat there, especially when you're by yourself. Like I said, when it was silent in there, it was an eerie, unsettling silence in that house. And it was really hard to sit and watch TV because it just felt like someone was behind at the doorway watching. It was such a creepy fucking house, man. It was so creepy, but my God, that one experience of finally seeing what that entity was really made me want to shut everything down, and I tried to so hard. And I mean, it's to the point that even now, like, I do have experiences, of course. In fact, the last video that I had posted, you can hear, um, it's at like the 9-minute and 20 mark or so. You can kind of hear like the microphone change. And I was wearing the earbuds at the time. Of course, I bought a different microphone since then, but you could hear the earphones caught a sound, and you can hear this really deep male voice say "sup," like "sup," and then that was it. And then it cut away and it was gone. I've never experienced that before. That was my first time with that. But that's happened here recently, within like the last 2 months or so, the last time that I had posted anything. So activity does happen, but it's not as loud as it used to be. And I guess it's because I'm not really on high alert like I used to be. So I kind of did shut it down a bit. It's a little bit quieter. I kind of wish it would go back up. I really do. And I hope that it does, because even though it is really unsettling to have these experiences, to feel when someone's in the room, it's not always like negative. And in this particular case of this house, yes, this entity was not thrilled that we were there, but at the same time, nothing really happened per se to where we were harmed. The only thing I can say that did happen a couple of times is like trying to put a glass cup into the dishwasher or like to take it out, it would fucking explode. It would explode in my hand. Now, of course, we can, go to physics and say like, that's why that happened. But in this house is the only time I have ever experienced that. I've never experienced that anywhere else. Not one glass has shattered in my hand in any other apartment, and I have had activity in every place that I've lived in. Even growing up where we had the grumpy old man. Now, granted, we did have, the light fixture fall and shatter, but not the glasses. Not the cups. We never had those shattered. So aside from me actually seeing her, aside from, the get out feeling, and the glasses breaking, no harm ever really came to us. There was no physical harm that came to us. It was just very much she did not want us there. So I hope whoever is in this house, I'm not going to give away the address. I won't tell you which house it was. It was on Peggy Court. I'll tell you that. I will tell you that. It was Peggy Court in Waverly Place. But I'm not going to tell you what house it was. If you know me, then you know what house it was. But don't go and harass these people. Please do not do such a thing. That I am absolutely against that. But it was in this house, and who knows? Maybe the people who live there will see this and know exactly what house, or may think that it is their house. You should know it's your house. I explained what the inside looks like. But it was very unsettling, and I hope whoever lives there now has an easier time. If anything, and if you do live there and you watch this video, put out an offering for her. Leave her something. Leave out food for her, or a drink of water. This is called ancestral veneration. She's probably not your ancestor, but you can still treat her as an ancestor that you care about. And hopefully that kind of activity kind of, goes down to a minimum, but maybe she still doesn't like you. I don't know. Maybe she still doesn't want anybody there. And who knows? There's probably more houses within that neighborhood that have weird paranormal activity happening. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. There's just so many weird things that went on there. So many unsettling things. I'm glad that I've not had an experience like that since. I mean, I've had some creepy experiences, sure, but nothing that was unsettling in that manner. And I hope I don't come across anything like that in the future, anywhere that I decide to live. But my God, if you guys have had similar experiences in places that you've lived, I would absolutely love to hear about it. Would absolutely love to hear about it. Write it down in the comments because I would love to read. I would love to read about experiences people have had. It's terrifying, but I find it fascinating at the same time. I'd rather be more curious and terrified of it. So, yeah, if you guys have anything, let me know. And if you like this kind of content, as I've said in my other videos, I don't have a specific schedule of when I'm going to be posting any video. It's just when I feel compelled to put out a story that I've experienced or talk about anything in particular. That's when I'm going to be putting stuff on here. So like, subscribe, but hit that bell notification if you want to know when I put out a new video. And until next time, take care.